That was such a quintessentially like pre-COVID Silicon Valley VC kind of story.
Mm.
So yeah, to continue the story, like that was my life. Sand Hill Road every single day from 2016 through 2020, basically through until COVID happened. Um, and then in early 2020, I decided to leave and to start my own fund at that time to invest in the future of online work, and that included the creator economy, or what I call the passion economy, basically platforms that enabled consumers to monetize their passions and their individuality. So in early 2020, I left. I started that fund called Atelier Ventures, which I then subsequently ended up deploying a large portion of into crypto and Web3
And was that,
companies.
sorry to interrupt you, was that before COVID hit? Like, did you leave and raise that in Q1 of 2020, or was that post like
It
the
was
March destruction?
basically in the midst of COVID. So I think I
Wow.
started raising in April of 2020 when the whole world was
Wow.
falling apart. Yeah, that was a whole journey. Like I learned so
Well,
much
that's
through that
amazing.
process.
It's an amazing example of seeing into the future though, right? Like clearly you started to think about, the second order effects of some of the things that were happening, and I think it was at a time, when a lot of people were just like, "Oh, the sky's falling, the world's going to end." And you were kind of looking out and seeing like, "Oh, wow, this unlocks an entire new economy and a ton of people
Yeah,
to go and monetize in a way that didn't exist prior."
totally. Everyone that I spoke to, I remember this clearly in April 2020, told me not to fundraise then and there.
Hmm.
They told me don't raise a fund right now. Like just chill out, wait 6 months, maybe 9 months, 12 months. Who knows how long this can last? But like this is the
Hmm.
worst time possible to try to raise a new fund. Um, like emerging managers told me this, angels told me
Hmm.
this, LPs told me this, everyone told me this, and I just did it anyway. And it was definitely really hard. I think it's one of those things like where I mean, similar to being a founder, you need a degree of kind of exuberance and like irrational confidence and almost naivete to go ahead with it, because in retrospect, knowing how hard it was, it actually does seem kind of crazy to me now that I actually did that. But going into it, I was like, yeah, well, no, it's going to be a piece of cake. Like I can raise like a fund. Like I'm coming from Andreessen. Ultimately, that was not the case. Like it was so hard, and I got told no
Hmm.
like 900 times. Um, but anyways, the fund like got raised eventually, and then I deployed it into a bunch of yeah, like new consumer platforms that enabled people to pursue entirely new like internet based forms of work. So I invested in companies like Patreon and Substack, a bunch of early stage companies like Stir and Pearpop, and then I invested a lot into Web3 as well. So that included projects like Syndicate, Foundation, Field Guild Games, Mirror, and many others. Really, because I saw like crypto was this new way for people to earn an income online. And not only could they earn an income, they were actually earning ownership in the projects that they were participating in, which I thought was so interesting and something that had never been possible before crypto. Um, and so I began spending more and more of my time in the Web3 world, and ultimately looked up one day and felt like this was the most dynamic and interesting part of the consumer software universe. And I wanted to spend 100% of my time there. So, long story short, I decided to join forces with my friend and former colleague Jesse Walden over at Variant. We ended up merging, raised Fund 2 together last fall, and are now, yeah, a partnership of three, myself, Jesse, and then one other partner named Spencer. And we've built out this whole team, and we're entirely focused on Web3 investing across the full stack.